Cape Fear, Articles of Confederation, and Guadalcanal are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is November 15th, 2022. It is the 319th day of the year. There are 46 days left in 2022. It's the 46th Tuesday in the 46th week and the 55th day of fall. You got 36 days left until winter. It is bitterly cold here in Portland. Well, it's in the 40s. I know if you're in Minnesota, you just groaned at me, but yeah, for Portland, that's pretty cold. No snow yet. We were supposed to get some flakes last week, but nothing yet. Today is National Philanthropy Day. On November 15th, National Philanthropy Day honors those who give back to their communities. The word philanthropy comes from the Latin and Greek philanthropia, which gives us kindness, humanity, and love for mankind. Philanthropists give their time and money in ways that provide a lasting impact. Support education through scholarships, grants, foundations, a lot of other things. Foundations support scientific research, development of charities, funding grants to program local, national, and international needs, encourage art through grants and foundations, invest in advocacy platforms for the underprivileged. These are all things that are considered acts that philanthropists, having a hard time with that word, get involved with. Normally, this is an activity of the very wealthy, but if you're donating time, you're sort of a philanthropist too. I can't even pronounce that word today. I don't know what's going on. All right, we'll move on. Let's see what else happened on November 15th. 1777, the American Revolutionary War. After 16 months of debate, the Continental Congress approves the Articles of Confederation. So the Articles of Confederation were kind of the first constitution. It was a blueprint for how the country would be run. And it was kind of weak. That's why it got replaced. As the country recovered from the Revolutionary War, the 8 states that we had at the time got together and decided they needed a way to run the country. At the time, the states were like individual countries on their own. So they decided that they needed a central government, a weak central government, because they were really weary of having another king, dictator, whatever. So the federal government had very limited powers, and this led to a lot of different problems. First of all, most anything the federal government was going to do, all the states had to agree with, and of course this, made it a pain. After all, it took them 3.5 years to ratify the first Articles of Confederation, so any other change was going to take forever. There was some other instances where you could have less than all of the states agree, but for the most part, it had to be unanimous. Federal government at the time didn't have the ability to tax the citizens. Only the states could, and sometimes the states taxed a little too much. States were in debt after the war, so was the federal government. Everyone was in debt. As the states raised taxes, business owners started demanding payment from people like farmers and other business owners who had taken out credit. If you couldn't pay, you ended up in jail or your property got seized, like your farm. Then in Massachusetts, they tried to do this to a farmer named Daniel Shea. He wasn't having it, and there was a little rebellion of about 1,200 farmers. Now, the rebellion was short-lived, and only a few people got killed, but it kind of upset the nation, and the nation started worrying, and changes had to be made. So they set out to make changes. One thing leads to another, and we had the Constitution. 1806, the Pike Expedition. Lieutenant Zebulon Pike spots a mountain peak while near the Colorado foothills of the Rocky Mountains. It is later named Pike's Peak in his honor. 1864, American Civil War. U.S. General William Sherman begins his march to the sea. 1939, Washington, D.C., U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt lays the cornerstone for the Jefferson Memorial. World War II, the Battle of Guadalcanal ends in a decisive Allied victory. If you have HBO, they have the series called The Pacific, and they specifically talk about the Battle of Guadalcanal, and they show, in a way, I wasn't there obviously, but I've been in the military, and I've been in some rough times in the military, especially when it comes to weather and the environment, and that series shows how bad it was on places like Guadalcanal. 1967, the only fatality of the North American X-15 program occurs during the 191st flight when U.S. Air Force test pilot Michael J. Adams loses control of his aircraft, which is destroyed midair over the Mojave Desert. The X-15 was a hypersonic rocket-powered aircraft. Basically, this was a rocket with some wings, and they strapped some poor dude into it. This thing was terribly fast, especially for the time. 1968, the Cleveland Transit System becomes the first transit system in the Western Hemisphere to provide direct rapid transit service from the city's downtown to its major airport. And that's a good thing. We have one here in Portland that drops you off like 50 yards from the ticket counter. It's great. I don't think any city can be a legit city unless they have a good train system. That's just my opinion. I think that's the signs that you're up on the times and you're an advanced city. 2013, Sony releases the PlayStation 4 or PS4 game console. I still have one today. I used to be one of those people, I'm an older guy, but I love my video games. When you have ADHD, it helps a lot because I can think of things I'm working on while I'm mindlessly playing a video game. That was the last one I bought. I kind of got disillusioned because PlayStation, a lot of these game companies, they like to create artificial hype over something, so they release things like that in limited supply. The PlayStation 5 was incredibly hard to get when it came out like last year, I think. Maybe it's been 2 years now, but I haven't got one. It's like I've got so irritated with how that is and the process, and I know they had supply chain issues with COVID and all that. It just seems sleazy the way they did it, the way they always do it. Nintendo's been doing that for years. Movies released on November 15th, 1991, Cape Fear. This was a great movie. This is a Martin Scorsese directed film. It starred Robert De Niro as Max Cady. He's a violent convict that just gets out of his 14th-year sentence and stalks the man who defended him in order to get revenge. That man's played by Nick Nolte. Basically, Cady, while in prison, found out some things and did a lot of studying on the law, and Nick Nolte didn't do him right. He was his defense attorney, but didn't give him a proper defense because he knew he was guilty, and Nick Nolte kind of put his thumbs on the scale of justice and sent this guy away for 14 years. So, as you can imagine, he was irritated. And now Robert De Niro is out to make his life miserable, which he does. It also had Jessica Lange, Gregory Peck, Juliette Lewis, Nick Nolte, like I said, Robert Mitchum was in this one, Ileana Douglas, she was in it, Fred Thompson, and Joe Don Baker. That's a great movie. Don't watch it with kids, though. It's a little weird. Born on November 15th, 1887, Georgia O'Keeffe, modernist artist who was best known for her paintings of flowers and western landscapes, including Summer Days. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1977 by President Ford and the National Medal of Arts in 1985. Her 1946 exhibition at New York's Museum of Modern Art was the first retrospective that the MoMA had held for female artists. She was the daughter of dairy farmers, went on to become an artist. Died on November 15, 2009, we lost Dennis Cole, actor who starred as Detective Jim Briggs on the ABC crime drama series Felony Squad in the 1960s and also starred in Fantasy Island and Trapper John M.D. Before fame, he worked as a model for Men's Fitness magazine before breaking into acting. He ceased working on acting projects that contained violence after his son Joe was shot during a robbery. I always thought he looked like Ricky Schroeder, like an older Ricky Schroeder, who I don't know if you watch the news, but Ricky Schroeder's gone crazy. Cole died at Holy Cross Hospital in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on November 15, 2009 at the age of 69 from kidney failure. He was buried at Forest Lawn Hollywood Hills Cemetery in Los Angeles. Alright, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day. We're on the holidays now, so everyone just be nice to each other.